Republicans are panicking as Jeffrey Epstein's links to the CIA are becoming more and more clear as people look through the Epstein files. Hat tip to Jason Leopold at Bloomberg, who does an incredible job, and others who have helped locate these documents. But you see, Jeffrey Epstein's lawyers in 2011 and 2014 were sending Freedom of Information Act requests to the CIA, requesting all of the information in their file about Jeffrey Epstein helping the CIA throughout his career. The CIA ultimately responded with a letter that Epstein kept in his back pocket, essentially saying there are no public documents that we can turn over, and to the extent there are any classified documents, we're not able to make those available through Freedom of Information Act requests. Epstein did this in 2011 and 2014 and possibly later. You will also recall, based on our prior reporting, hat tip, by the way, to News 4 over in the UK as well, that there are likely 50 terabytes of information in the Epstein files that are still being withheld by the Trump regime. Many people thought maybe there's 3 million documents that have not been produced. And I'm not talking about the unredacted version of the unlawfully redacted version that the Trump regime made available recently, that lawmakers saw, and it has some horrific things in the unredacted version that are unlawfully redacted. We're talking about, in addition to that, potentially 100 million, 200 million other documents, because 50 terabytes, like 100 million, 200 million files, maybe. We could be talking about billions of records. And that makes sense because we're talking about billions of dollars in financial transactions that also went through the sex trafficking ring with the money laundering operation that was adjacent to it. But let me break all of this down. I'll show you what's going on in the MAGA Republican world and state regime media. Your mind's about to be blown, so make sure you watch the full video. And by the way, hit subscribe. We're on our way to 6 million subscribers. Help us get there. So just for an example of what Trump, state regime media, MAGA Republicans don't want us talking about, it's things like this. Democratic Congress member James Walkinshaw from Virginia. We've had him on the Midas Touch Network before. Here he talks about reviewing some of the redacted Epstein files in the unredacted facility at the Department of Justice headquarters. He goes, when you read these, it's clear that Trump never kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. That's all a lie. It's clear that Epstein was always a guest and was someone who could go back to Mar-a-Lago whenever. Watch what Walkinshaw says here. Play this clip.
I read a redacted document, illegally redacted in my view, where Epstein's lawyers had spoken to Trump, and Trump made it clear that he never kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. Why does he keep lying? Why has he done everything in his power to cover this up? Those are important questions, not to take away from any of the other individuals involved here.
And then you have what Jason Leopold wrote about, how Epstein filed FOIA requests with the CIA, requesting documents regarding his affiliations with the CIA between 1999 and 2011, and the NSA for documents relating or referring to himself. Epstein didn't receive any records. He got letters back basically saying, we can't return classified information. Here's the letter from July 29th, 2011 from the CIA to Epstein. Okay, this is not me going into some conspiratorial territory. I'm reading for you the letter from the CIA to Epstein's lawyer, Martin G. Weinberg. Dear Mr. Weinberg, it says on July 25th, 2011, we received your letter pertaining to Jeffrey Epstein's Privacy Act requests. It says you provided the necessary information in accordance with the Freedom of Information. We've searched, and it says we're unable to locate any information or records. However, it says, with respect to responsive records that would reveal a classified connection to the CIA in accordance with Section 3.6 Sub A of Executive Order 13526, as amended, the CIA can neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of records responsive to your request. The fact of the existence or non-existence of requested records is currently improperly classified and is intelligence sources and methods information that is protected from disclosure by Section 6 of the CIA Act. Although our searches were thorough and diligent, and is highly unlikely that repeating those searches would change the result, you nevertheless have a legal right to appeal the decision, and it's signed the Information Privacy Coordinator of the CIA. Then on July 30th, 2014, this was sent to Mr. Indyke, one of Epstein's representative. This replies to your letter dated March 5th, 2014, appealing on behalf of your client, Jeffrey Epstein, the National Security Agency, Central Security Services, denial of his request of a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act records, files, communications, memorandum, orders, and agreements, and or instructions referring to or related from Mr. Epstein that were created from January 1, 2000 to January 2, 2014, and were prepared, received, transmitted, collected, and or maintained by the National Security Agency. I have reviewed this request and your letter of appeal. As a result of my review, I have concluded that the appropriate response is to continue to neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of any intelligence material on the subject of your client's request pertaining to any NSA, CSS, intelligence programs or activities, including to programs authorized under Section 215 of the U.S. Patriot Act and Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act amended. To do otherwise would challenge under FOIA, would result in the exposure of intelligence information, sources, and methods which could harm our national security and severely undermine NSA CSS activities in general. For example, if NSA CSS denied having information in cases where we had no such information but remained silent in cases in which the information existed, it would tend to reveal in which activities NSA and CSS were engaged. Any further elaboration concerning these matters would reveal information that is currently and properly classified. Why aren't more people talking about this? I mean, hat tip to Jason Leopold for posting this. And then you compare that to other letters. I mean, you've got messages from Epstein to the former heads of the CIA, linking him with Peter Thiel. You have Bill Burns right here. Peter Bill, Bill Peter. I think you two would enjoy each other. Or William Burns to Epstein, former CIA director to Epstein. Some retirement. Look forward to seeing you again soon. And enjoy the green blue sea in the meantime. Dude, Epstein knew all these people. Epstein was working with the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, the former Prime Minister of Norway, the royal family there. He was working with national security advisors in Eastern European countries. He was speaking intermediaries directly with Vladimir Putin. He was speaking with Bannon on a day-to-day basis about working on overthrowing Pope Francis. He was working on propping up Jair Bolsonaro, who became the insurrectionist MAGA president of Brazil. He knew about the annexation of Crimea before that was going to take place, and he told people in the Epstein class to short the ruble right before the annexation. He talked about getting Putin and others to start purchasing Bitcoin and crypto back in like 2013, 2014. I mean, he was involved in all of this stuff. He was the center. He was the intermediary. As I've said before, and I talked about this on the Midas Touch podcast, Donald Trump is a vessel of the Epstein class. And Donald Trump essentially, was like all these other basically props that they had, people part of the Epstein class hoisting up this right-wing destruction of global order while using sex trafficking as their currency. I mean, it was absolutely sick. So with all of this going on, I mean, I think I showed you the clip you've seen before of Donald Trump saying the Epstein files vindicate him. Total win, shows that he's done nothing wrong. I don't need to play that.